Microphone.
Jack, your microphone.
Do it again?
But I think it's okay.
Okay. The City of Bowling Green, the date is April 22nd, 2016. It's a little bit after 5 p.m., and we are in City Hall Commission chambers. Can you call the roll, please?
Deere.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Dearbone.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes. And Broderick.
Gentlemen.
They said you were late. Not much. Okay, approval of the minutes. You've been mailed the minutes. I think most of us got them on Saturday. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
Moves it to be approved.
Second?
Simpson. Deere. Deere.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Dearbone.
Staying.
Thomas.
Yes. Do we have any announcements or comments from the staff? Okay, would staff please rise? I'll swear you. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. The first case under hearing agenda and appeals is case 2016-6, citation number 2016-1776. The address is 1500 Sunrise Drive. The owner, D&L Investments, respondent, Mr. Don Minton, and Officer Mo Hillard. Mo, would you please explain what you have?
This case is a result of a complaint by the tenant at this address. The initial inspection was conducted on the 4th of January, 2016. During this inspection, I know the following violations. The windows are in a state of disrepair. There's broken panes. Many of them are painted shut. Others, there's no locks on them if you could open them. Most of them are painted shut. The doors don't lock properly, and they're not weather tight. And there's ill-fitting interior doors. There's holes in the walls and ceilings. The bathroom is atrocious. It's there's no plumbing fixtures for the bath or shower. The sink's not affixed to the wall. The toilet is not properly anchored, and there's no ventilation whatsoever. The water heater was not properly hooked up, and the pressure temperature relief valve did not have a discharge pipe. An unused gas line in the living room was not properly terminated. The breaker box was in a hazardous condition. On the breaker box, Mr. Minton was told in the NOV that he was to be given 7 days to find a contractor to pull an electrical permit. It was going to take a permit to get it fixed, and another 7 days to have the work completed. Numerous light fixtures were not installed properly. None of the receptacles and light switches had face plates. There was no smoke alarms in the house, and Mr. Minton was notified he'd have to have the smoke alarms within 24 hours, which he did do that. Photographs were taken, and NOV was sent to the PVA listed owner with a compliance reinspection date of the 4th of February, 2016. The actual follow-up inspection was on the 1st of February. Because of the stipulation that about the electrical box, we had given 14 days. We'd actually given quite a bit before we re-inspected for that. None of the electrical work had been done at that point, or anything else. So the first citation was issued with a follow-up date of 3/1 of 16. In this time, I was making a bunch of phone calls between Mr. Minton, the tenant, and the electrical contractor that Mr. Minton hired. The inspection for the second citation was delayed due to the contractor telling me that he just hadn't had time to get into the house yet, and he was specifically asking for a little more time to get in there, so I granted him that. On 3/16, another inspection was conducted. At that time, the electrical box and most of the receptacles and lights had been fixed, but nothing else was done. I issued a citation with a reinspection date of 3/28. Now, at That inspection date, I wasn't able to get hold of the tenant to get access into the house. He'd had some issues going on, some personal stuff. And I couldn't get hold of Mr. Menton. So that actual inspection was on 4/15. None of the remaining issues at the house had been addressed. They did have, from that, they had the electrical box done, and the water heater was hooked up properly. But other than that, so I wrote the third citation with the reinspection date of the 2nd of May. And this is the citation that is being appealed. As of this writing, this case is 113 days, and the property's still in violation.
We have someone here from D&L Investments. Mr. Minton. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth? So
I
help you
do.
God.
This house was vacant. I was in the process of doing some repairs on it. I put new tile in the kitchen, new tile in the dining room, new tile in the bathroom. I had this gentleman, David Hodges, he called me. His sister-in-law has been renting from her next door for about 3 years. He wanted to know if he could rent the house. I told him it wasn't ready to be rented. I had to put a new kitchen cabinets in it. Had to put a new bathroom sink in it. About the only two things that I seen right off that I had to do. There was some cracked glass. He said he had worked on houses. That's what he was, mobile homes and houses, that's what he'd done for a living. If I would let him in there, he would go on in there and take it. And I told him I really preferred him not to move. And then all of a sudden, I go by there and his truck's in the driveway. Him and his wife was in there painting the walls and redoing doing the floors. Asked me if I'd get him some kitchen cabinets and the countertop and stuff. He would put them in or help me put them in. So I did that. He wanted to work for me. Told me that he would work for X number of dollars an hour and that I could keep half his paycheck for rent and the other half I'd paid him, and I agreed to do that. He went in there and started. I bought him the kitchen cabinets, bought him a countertop, bought him a new stainless steel sink and fixtures. He basically installed it. I helped him somewhat, but he did that. Now the other things in the bathroom, if I'm not mistaken, if he hasn't got a fixture in the bathtub, I bought him one. I bought him a brand new one. Matter of fact, got those Gerbers, and I think it cost me like $158 to buy the Gerbers. So he's the one who put the hole in the bathtub. He also took out the ceiling in the as you walk in the back entry back there. He was going to run him wash machine lines on the ceiling. Mo called me or talked to me, said that we had a problem up there with the electric. Of course, David had been up there switching. He had been playing with the fuse box. Matter of fact, he said he was an electrician and he could replace a fuse box if I would buy him one. I went on and bought a fuse box, and then I found out that he didn't have a contractor's license or wasn't licensed to do it, so we never did put that one in. like I said, he worked on me, and Mo can attest that he was, he helped me on some things that I had some code violations with. He knows all about the code thing. Then she come up, he quit working for me, didn't want to work for him anymore. He called Mo and complained about the house, and I tried to tell her that he had made the holes in the walls and done that thing, because like I said, when they first moved in, they painted all the walls, and they redid, I know they redid the living room floor. I'm not for sure about the bedrooms, but I know they varnished, sanded down and varnished the living room floor. That's one reason I let him go on and move in there. But now, Mo said the electricity had to be redone, or they would have to move. So I thought that was a good way for me to get rid of him, because he owes me, at that time, probably owed me $3,000 or $4,000, because they've been in there since July the 1st, 2015. He hadn't paid any, he hadn't paid very little on his rent, because every time he would do something for me that I needed, well, can I go on and have the full pay? And of course, I agreed with him and let him do that. But anyway, I finally got my electrician out there. He put the new fuse box in there. It cost me $1,285 to put that in there. I've been up there to make some repairs. I took the glass up there and gave it to David. He said he would put it in. I went on and gave him the glass. I come back up there and asked him what he was going to do. He said he was going to get him another job, and that they would be moving. And I thought I had talking to Mo, but maybe I haven't. I really can't remember, Mo, whether I talked to you or not about it. He told me he was going to move, but I did finally have to give him an eviction notice, and I haven't followed up on the eviction notice. But the last time I went up there, we got into an argument. He come out and was putting his finger in my face and daring me to hit him, that he would own everything I had if I'd hit him, and he'd do move whenever he wanted to move. And that's about all I can tell you. Like I said, I apologize for not being at last month's meeting. I can't even remember what I had, and I didn't know this was on the agenda until y'all come up with it here. But
Mr. Minton, have the new cabinets and the sink, has all that been installed?
in the kitchen, yes, sir. That was done before. Yeah, that was done right off the bat. And this stuff here is he's tore down this stuff, and it's got, as you walk in, when you first walk in the house from the side, the hot water heater and the fuse box was right there. The other side, there was a closet. He's taken out the closet to put in a washer and dryer. That's where he wanted to put the washer and dryer. He tore out the ceiling and done that. Of course, David's smart enough that, on these, of course, I haven't been in there. Like I said, I haven't been in the house. I try to stay away from these conflicts if I can, because, it doesn't do any good for me to go up there and get upset. But
Is anyone living here now?
as far as I know, they're still living there. Like I said, last time I went down there, he said he was going to move. Excuse me. But they're going to let it ride just as long as they can, I'm sure. So I'm going to have to go get the sheriff to get him out and take it to court. And I haven't done it yet. I'm sorry. Last month there was 5 days that I didn't leave my house at all. I just didn't even leave the house. And here, like a week and a half ago or something, there was 4 days in a row that I didn't leave. Just like I've told you before, I've got some health problems. I've lost my maintenance man. I had one that was with me for 12 or 15 years. His father died in Florida, and he left him all of his real estate down there, and he moved back to Florida with his family. Then I had Mr. Logan. Mr. Logan passed away. This last, 4 or 5 weeks, I've called 5 or 6 people that was in the newspaper that redone. I called Birch, and I called Southern Kentucky, and I've called 3 or 4 of them. 5, well, probably all 5 or 6 of them, but I had 2 of them return my call, Birch and the Southern Kentucky. And they said they would get back in touch with me the following week. Birch did, and then he said he would give me a call and we'd meet at what I had to have done, and which was in other houses. It wasn't this house, because I want to get David and his family out, and then I'll go in there and do whatever repairs have to be done. But I have not heard nothing from them. I even asked Mo the other day if she knew of anybody that I could get to work, and she said she wasn't allowed to give that, but she would make me a list of 4 or 5 people, and I could choose from them, but she wasn't allowed to give me any. But like I said, I'm just not physically able to go in there and do the work anymore. I mean, I've been mowing all day today. I can mow, I can sit on a tractor and, a lawnmower and mow, but I can't do a lot of physical activities.
Minton, there's no saying that you can't get something for nothing.
Well, I don't mind.
And let me go, I'm just make the statement. And I'm curious, would you have moved into this property yourself?
I would live in any of my properties if
You
it
would
come to
live
that.
in this?
I would, yeah. Because this is not, well, of course, that's been replaced there. You're looking at the fuse box. But that's all been replaced. There wasn't really a whole lot that was wrong with it that I know of.
That's debatable.
Yeah, well, that's debatable, but like I said, it cost me $1,285 to do it. But,
Who repaired the electrical fixtures? Was this a gentleman living there?
No. Mark Hutton, certified electrician. He's the one who put it in there. Put a whole new service in. And to be honest with you, I went up there right after he got it done and knocked on the door and told him I wanted to take a look at what he'd done, and they let me in. But
All right, do we have a motion maybe?
I think we could maybe help you expedite your evicting these people, because I'd like to make a motion, please. I'd like to make a motion to uphold the citation and fine in the amount of $606.75 and implement a per-day fine in the amount of $300 per day until the property is in compliance.
Have a second?
Second.
can I say something?
Any
please?
discussion on the board? Just a minute. Any discussion on the board members? Okay.
He's not going to let me in the house. I mean, that's one of the problems too. He don't want me in the house. He knows what you folks can do, and he's not letting me in, because I've been up there. I was up there like I said, the last time I was up there, he just as soon as I pulled in the driveway, he comes out the door and starts cussing me out and tells me, to leave. But he's not going to let me in the house.
If I may?
Yes.
We've discussed this quite a few times, that if he goes into the legal actions of actually evicting him, then we can back off with everything, and then the sheriff come or whatever it is that they have to do to actually physically get them out. We can understand that he's not going to, but he hasn't initiated the legal process that he needs to. That's
I can do
really
that
what it
first
kind
thing.
of
I can
boils
do
down.
that first thing in the morning. It's like everything else. It costs money to do it, but I'll be glad to go down there and do it.
We've discussed that, though, Don.
I
mean,
know. But like I said, you're saying a $300 per day fine, and if I can't get into properties, I can't repair them.
How long does it take to get an eviction notice and to execute an eviction?
Well, I'll go down and do it tomorrow, whatever date is open on the
Mr.
court.
Broderick, do you have,
Be done tomorrow. It's one of the few things within the court system that can be done by self-help. That means you don't need an attorney to do it. You can, yeah, you just have to be able to reach up to the counter and pay the money.
I think it's a $90 application fee or something like that.
Classically, the judges will have a hearing within a week. Sometimes it's longer, depends on the
and how long after that the eviction notice is served do you have to evict them?
7 days, unless there's some written lease, and I've not heard anybody say there's a written.
So if we gave two weeks to this,
2 weeks.
it would be sufficient in your opinion? All right, would you like to amend?
No, I don't think so. I think if we've got a policy in place now that will back off the fine, then I don't see any reason to change the motion. And they say we do have a program, a way of doing it without changing the motion. So I don't want to change the motion.
You want to delay it for 2 weeks then?
No, I don't want to delay it at all.
How can I get in there and make repairs if who's living there won't let me in?
I think what you're saying is that we can implement that fine starting now, and if it doesn't actually, and then if it gets done in the 2 weeks, we can then decide to not
revisit at that
Well, he can't get in for 2 weeks.
That's what I'm saying, but,
Yeah.
but then again, if we don't instate it now and he goes 4 weeks, see, then there's no incentive.
We're doing the same thing again.
Right.
I'll be glad to bring you down whatever the court date is tomorrow. I'll get a court date tomorrow. It might be next week, and it might be 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, that's my experience on it. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 weeks before we even have a hearing. When we have a hearing, the judge makes a decision whether to make them leave or not, which he will because he hasn't paid any rent. But I don't, 2 weeks, I'll be glad to show you, bring it down to her tomorrow and show her what the day I go to court. And then whatever day the judge tells me after that, I'll be glad to.
Mr. Minton, have you evicted other people in the
Yes, I
past?
have.
So this is not a new process to
No,
you?
it's not. It's just a costly process.
It's what?
It's just a costly process,
Costly?
yes.
What did you say it was?
About $90.
$90?
Well, it's $90, I'm moving from month to month right now. I mean,
But we're talking about a per-day fine of,
I know
on the
what you're
board of
talking-
$300.
I realize that, but I mean, that's what I'm saying. $300 fine, I can't get in there to make the repairs, I can't get in there to make the repairs. I'll be glad to, just as soon as they move, get in there and do something.
My concern is, we've been at it 113 days. That's my concern. What makes me feel like or believe that we're going to get this done in the next month?
Well,
I mean, history
yeah.
somewhat
the thing of it
repeats
is,
itself here.
I was hoping that he would move, he was complaining about the electricity and about the other stuff. I was hoping that he would move, and I've been down there and talked to him, and he said he was gonna move, that he had a new job and that they were gonna move. But they're not, they're gonna sit there until I do get this eviction notice.
He could be gone now, because you haven't been there in a while, have you?
No, but I see their car.
He could be gone, though.
There's a possibility.
Yeah.
I should have went by there before I come here, but like I said, I don't need any altercations. I've had enough of those.
All right, we've had a motion, a second, we've had discussion. You want to call for the vote?
Okay, Simpson made the motion and Dearbone seconded. So Deere,
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Dearbone,
Yes.
Thomas.
No.
You can see right there, we put new tile down on the bathroom floor and reconnected the stuff,
I suggest that you go to court tomorrow.
I'll be there first thing in the morning
Okay,
and
thank you.
I can get Mo to get in touch with you, Mo, and try to tell you exactly what court date is, and then it'll be however many days the judge goes from there.
Okay, Mr. Minton, I guess you can stay there. We've got another one, another property of yours, case number 2015-4424, location 1524 Parkhurst Drive, owner DNL Rentals LLC, respondent, Mr. Don Minton. Brad, you want to explain? Well, you're hiding back there, okay.
I was letting someone else have the floor there, which was Mo for once. At the March 22nd Code Board meeting, the board made a motion to uphold the citation and fine in the amount of $606.75, and at that time to implement a per-day fine in the amount of $300 a day to run until the property was in compliance. On the 6th of this month, the tenant from this address came into our office at the end of the business day stating that there was an eviction notice on her door and she wanted guidance. I explained that that was a civil matter and I could not be involved in it. However, she then stated that her toilet was not functioning properly and continued to clog and she was having difficulty using it. She had tried to repair it herself and she couldn't do so. I called Mr. Minton at that time. Like I said, it was at the end of the business day, about 4:30. Left a message for him about that complaint. Mr. Minton then called back after hours that same day, which was the 6th of this month, and left a message stating that he would address the toilet issue. I then followed up with the tenant later that week. There were no repairs made to the toilet to her knowledge, and there were no repairs made to the interior of the structure. I did, on the 21st of this month, go by the property and verify at the tenant's advice that the exterior rubbish, debris, tires and such had been cleaned up out of the backyard, and verified that that was the case. However, all of the exterior structural issues that were apparent from the outside without doing an interior inspection were still present. The windows are still broken, the siding is still missing off of the side of the house, etc. As of today, I completed an interior inspection, which are the pictures that you're seeing now, and all of the violations that were present at the last meeting and at the time that Mr. Minton and I had met back in March are still present within the house. There are still holes in the ceiling, an uncapped vent from the water heater. The windows in one of the bedrooms are still screwed in with plexiglass and taped around the window, so they are not able to be opened. As you see there in that picture, it's just a piece of plexiglass that's screwed in. The two windows on the front of the house are still broken, boarded, or missing, one of which is held on with cardboard. The other one has a trash bag. There's a storm window that the tenant installed over the trash bag. This picture is missing siding that's still missing from the top of the roof line. The grass is overgrown, however, that's a separate case that a notice has been sent to Mr. Minton. And the rear window, or the window on that door there, as you see in the picture, is still missing, and it's nothing but a piece of cardboard and a piece of cloth that's being held over top of it. So all of the interior violations since the last meeting are still there. And all of the structural violations from the exterior are still visible. Again, however, on at least the 21st, if not earlier, the large pile of rubbish and debris were cleaned up from the backyard. I've spoken with Mr. Minton a couple times about this case over the last week, and he stated to me that much like the case Mo was just talking about, he's having difficulty getting inside the house, that the tenant is well, I'll let Mr. Minton share that portion, but I guess that he's having difficulty getting inside the interior of the house, and that he's started civil proceedings to evict the tenant. But as of today, the case is at 112 days, and the property is still in violation.
Brad, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You said the panes of glass. I replaced the panes of glass before whatever we were supposed to have the meeting last time.
Which one?
Sir, you're still under oath.
Yeah, I know, but I placed them in front, and I placed one in the back window where the plexiglass is. That plexiglass was screwed in by, I guess, the previous tenant. I don't know. They broke the glasses out, but glasses have been replaced. that I could get to.
And that, so you're saying the front window that has the cardboard over it
No,
was replaced?
it's the bedroom window.
That one with the trash bag?
Well, I don't know if, yeah, I guess there's a, but that you can, matter of fact, you can check it anytime you want to, but I replace it. I went to the house, and I'm sorry, my dates are not, I don't know what the dates is, but it's right after we talked, we put smoke alarms and,
And I'll tell you what date that was. Hold on one second.
okay. Put smoke alarms in it that day. I don't know what happened to the smoke alarms. I put switch plates on the ones that was missing switch plates. I fixed the inside of the commode that day. Brad was there and she was there. She come in. That next day, or well, I guess it was the next day. I'm not for sure.
Excuse me, who was she?
Miss Hyman. That's who.
Okay.
That's who's rented
Thank you.
The house.
It was March 3rd that I had met you over there while you were installing the smoke detectors.
Okay, well, it was that, whatever day y'all told me. Miss Hyman rented the house from me on February the 12th. She paid the balance of that month's rent. I prorated it to the first. That house, I had evicted the previous tenants out of there. I gave her $100 off the deposit for her to go in there and clean up the house. She was supposed to pay me $500 on the 19th of February. I never did see her, she never did pay me after that. Anyway, the day we went in, Brad did, she called him and said, or well, I think she went to the y'all's office. I'm not for sure. She went down there, made a complaint, and I think the reason she made a complaint because y'all had left something on the door, and that's how she knew to come. But anyway, somebody from New York was with her, and he was a code enforcement officer. Anyway,
Excuse me, somebody from New York was,
New York was visitor, and he was a code enforcement, and
he was code enforcement.
that's what he said he
I
was.
believe Mr. Minton's referring to it's either the brother or cousin of the tenant. As she was moving in, he was down here in town helping her move, and I believe that he's a code enforcement officer somewhere in New York. So when he identified several of these issues as he was helping her move in, he said, you need to contact code enforcement. The notice that was on the door, I believe Mr. Minton is referring to, is is either the second or third citation that was posted on the property, because before this tenant had moved in, all of the exterior structural issues were already in play. The broken windows and the siding and the issues in the backyard, which the board had visited in the November meeting, were already existing before this tenant had moved in. So the interior issues then arose once that tenant identified them, but the exterior issues, the structural issues have not changed.
So this case is just active for 108 days, but these deficiencies existed a long time before? Or some of them did?
No, sir, I'm saying that the tenant has only lived there for a month and a half, but
Not talking about
these
the
issues
tenants.
have been there, right, these issues have been there for 112 days, but the tenants only lived there for 60 or 90 days. So it was before the tenant had even moved in that we already had a case at the property.
That's my question, yes. It was
Yeah.
there before.
Yeah, before the tenant
Do you
moved
know
in.
how
yes.
long before?
Well, the case that Mo started was in November. I don't know how many days that would have been at this point.
Suffice it to say that this stuff was there a long time before what we're talking about now. Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And the case goes back to 2015.
Yeah.
Again, I had to evict the tenants that was in there, and who did I talk to on that? Did I talk to you, Mo, or Brad?
Same thing.
They had a dog.
No, I think Mo was,
They
you
had a
were
dog.
involved when the last tenants were in there.
Right, with just the backyard, I hadn't even realized the rest of the stuff. It was like the end of the year and we were switching
Areas.
areas. So I had picked this up because this 2015 5792, because it was actually a complaint, the neighbors behind them had complained about it. So it all just sort of got mixed in there. It was two cases at once and then we merged the cases so that
Again, I had to evict the people that was in there out of that house for non-payment. They wouldn't let me in the house. They had a dog. I knocked on the door one day and the dog was barking and I went on and went in, which I normally don't do because I was going to try to talk to him and make some repairs. But anyway, she told me to leave. It was Miss Miller. She told me to leave and I left. And finally got them out, and these people come, and I'm sure they're the ones that broke the windows. I know they broke the door out. They broke the door glass out. I'm sure they broke the other windows out too. But going back to these people, I come back and put in the smoke alarms, put in the switch plate covers that were missing. That's all. I looked at for the ones that he said was missing, and I replaced all those. I fixed the toilet. It needed a new handle and a couple of things. I fixed it. Then I was back there picking up the garbage one day. I had my truck back there, loaded my truck up, I had garbage cans full. The black van was there. I knocked on the door before I even went back there because I needed to get inside to make the repairs. Nobody would answer the door. They've got a dog and it was barking too, and nobody would answer the door. While I was back there in the backyard cleaning up that mess, a gentleman drove in and parked by the van and just sat in his car. I had never seen him before. A few minutes later, Miss Hyman come in a white van. She seen me back there. She turned around, she left, and the guy followed her. 45 minutes to an hour later, I was still back there cleaning up. She pulled back in the van. Seen I was still there. She turned around and went to the end of the driveway at the street, got out of the van and went to, I guess she went inside the house. I started walking up there and she jumped in the van and took off. So she didn't pay any on her deposit like she's supposed to pay her deposit on 2/19. She didn't pay any March rent on the 5th day of April. I put an eviction notice on the door. I had tried several times to, went by the house several times because I had the backyard cleaned up to get inside. I put the two windows in because I didn't have to be inside the house to do that. Put the two bedroom windows in, one in the front, one in the back. The door windows, I've got to open the door and I've got to take the molding off to put the glass in there. The glass is cut and ready to go.
Did Miss Hammond, did you have a lease?
Yeah, I've got a lease with her.
And let me ask you, does that lease allow you to go into the premises?
Well, I usually don't go in there, especially if they've got dogs and stuff, which she has a dog. I don't go into places without permission. I usually, if they say they've got a problem with something, I ask them if I can come in. 90% of the time, they tell me to take my key and come on in, or I couldn't get a hold of. Like I said, I gave her an eviction notice on the 5th. She called me 4 times. The next day, she called me starting at 5 o'clock in the morning. Finally, finally answered one of her calls. I don't know why. I didn't hear the 5 o'clock call and the other 3 calls, but I told her, I said, I've been by several times. She said, well, my son's always here. You could have come in. And I said, ma'am, I've knocked on the door. The dog was barking. You've got they had, I knew somebody was in there because they had the storm door locked. And I you know, but anyway, I told her I've been trying to go in there and make repairs, and she made no comment towards that. She said, I have no place to take my kids. And I said, well, you know, I'm sorry. But anyway, 2 or 3 days later, I received a thing from small claims court on her, from her. And then Brad told me that he had talked to her and that she said she had switched jobs and that she would be out in a few days. But she
Yeah.
has never contacted me except for the eviction notice that I gave her, and she didn't want to talk about anything else. She just said, you know, I have nowhere to go. And I said, well, let's make arrangements for, you know, you pay me rent and, you know, we'll get the repairs taken care of. And that's all, you know.
Okay, Mr. Broderick, let me ask you a question. Can we change our vote on a previous motion in the previous case?
Well, in terms of, are you wanting to, I guess my,
I voted no, and I want to change my vote. You can't do that. Okay, do we have a motion here on this case?
I have a motion.
I appreciate what you're saying.
I'd like to ask Brad a question before we make the motion. Brad, when was the last time you were in this property?
About 10:30 this morning.
Okay, so
Today.
we didn't have your last, it just said as of 4/6, the tenant came into your office. It didn't have the date, the last date that you
Right,
were
yeah,
there.
as of today,
Can
I
I make a
was in the
statement?
process.
Okay.
Well, and
Let him
just to
finish,
clarify 2 things. Number one, Mr. Minton reminded me of that. The tenant has stated to me that she has been in testing and is hopefully in the process of getting a new job. And as such, she's been speaking with a landlord since, I think, Wednesday or Thursday of last week. She had expressed that, told me who the landlord was, and that she was hoping to be out by the end of this month or very early of the beginning of next month. So she is in the process of moving, and when I was there today, many of her belongings are boxed up. She has big boxes lining the walls and everything of her belongings. In addition, I was reviewing the pictures, and I'm not sure if Tim has them available or not, from the inspection back in March, and I was looking at the bedroom window from the exterior, the one that Mr. Minton says he repaired. That one is cracked, and then if you zoom in on the picture from today's inspection, that plexiglass, which is obviously a fire hazard and an egress hazard as far as getting out, but it does appear that that window was repaired. So I do want to correct that and you know, concur with what Mr. Minton's saying, is that window does appear to be repaired, notwithstanding the fact that that's still a fire hazard of having plexiglass screwed in. But if he's not able to access the interior, then that's,
Right.
you know, kind of come along with that.
Okay,
No,
sir.
I don't mind fixing anything that has to be fixed in these houses. But if I can't get in and I'm having problems with a tenant, I mean, I made a bad decision. She come in, it was on a Friday night. She told me I think she lived in Glasgow. She had to move to Bowling Green because she was working somewhere here in Bowling Green. And she had to have a place for her kids, and wanted, you know, she knew about that house some way. I don't know how, because I hadn't started cleaning it up or doing anything. I didn't know any repairs had been made. And none of these things that are not major, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, the hole in the ceiling in the kitchen there is from a vent that goes to the stove vent. I hate to say it, but somebody's probably taken the stove vent out and sold it. Anyway, like I said, I know there's somebody there because I knock on a black van is there, and that's the van that her son drives, and knock on the door and they won't let you in. You know, I don't know what a person's supposed to do. You know, making me the bad guy, and I'm not the bad guy. I don't mind doing this stuff, you know.
I'd like to make a motion, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to uphold the current per-day fine of $10,500 accrued since 3/22/16 meeting and continue the per-day fine in the amount of $300 until the property is in compliance.
Second?
I'll second that motion.
Excuse me.
Okay, is there discussion on the board? Okay.
When was this $300 per day?
Last meeting. It's in the minutes.
Well, I wasn't aware of it, that it had been,
I think you said you weren't here?
I wasn't here, no, sir. I was sick. And I called Brad and told him that I was sick. I couldn't make the meeting.
Okay.
You know, you got,
We have a proper motion. You want to call?
Deere,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
Dearbone,
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
are you gonna fine me $300 a day even though I can't get in the house?
That's what their decision was, yes, sir. You have a right to an appeal. You have 30 days. You can appeal to district court.
Okay. And from today's date, or what date, see, I got a thing on this last $9,300 one, but I didn't get the rest of the letter till the 18th of this month.
You have 30 days from when the findings of fact are entered, which will probably be in the next couple of days. Tabitha and I Tabitha has it done appropriately the next day, and then when I get back with Tabitha in a day or so, it gets done, in fairness to Tabitha. So we should have it for you within 2 to 3 days, and you'll be sent up. You have 30 days from that date, so you actually have a little bit more than 30 days.
Can I say something to the board? I mean, you know, guys, you know, you've done already fined me $12,000 or $13,000, and these other probably more than that, and then you're sticking me with another $10,000. You know, I can't afford that. I'm barely making ends meet now as it is, and you know, I can't help it if I make a poor judgment and try to help somebody out, and you know, let them move into the house because they have nowhere to live, and then boom, you know, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you guys.
Mr. Minton, how long have you been in the rental
I've been
business?
in the rental business, you know, several years, but the thing of it is, like.
How many years?
Probably 30 or 40 years, but like I said, I have no help now. I've been in bad health. I've expressed that to y'all before, that I've had 3 heart attacks and open heart surgery. I can't do anything anymore. And I've got a heart all done. And the guy that I had working for me for 12 years has, like I said, he's moved to Florida. And Mr. Logan, who helped me all these years, he passed away. And, you know, I've been unable to get to anybody. I've tried 2 or 3 different people, and they'll work for a day or go in there and halfway do something and, you know, want paid and they're gone. I mean, and like I said, I've called, I guess this Birch and these other people would know, but I've called several people to try to get them to work for me. And just, you know, I guess this is a busy time of year. It's spring, everybody's wanting stuff done, but I mean, I just, you know, you guys are finding me, you know, you're talking about $25,000 now.
Mr. Minton, I can assure you that there's nobody sitting up here on this board that enjoys any of these fines or anything like that. There is nothing personal, but there is a responsibility to the citizens of Bowling Green that we have to address. And, you know, I'd love to sit here and give you some personal advice, but I'm probably shouldn't do that.
You know,
But I just want you to know that there's.
Well, you know, it's hard for me to believe because, like I said, I'm finding $600 here and $600 here, $1,200. That's like on the car lot. We moved all those cars. You know, it cost me $2,000 or $3,000 to move all those cars, and we had everything moved. I think there was a truck still in the gate there. It could have been brought out front if we wanted to do that. And y'all still fine me $1,200 and some dollars, because it wasn't done on the first, y'all wasn't even in session first, it drove by on the fourth. I mean, that's just, you know, you just constantly finding me and finding me and finding me, and nobody in Bowling Green can do that. You know, it's just outrageous that I'm finding like that. You know.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Minton.
Okay, the case number 3 is 2015-4424. The address is 1777 Holly Drive, Unit A. Owner Casey Enterprises, for lack of a better pronunciation, I'll just call him Mr. Emmanuel. Brad, what's the situation on that?
At the March 22nd meeting, the board made a motion to uphold the fine of $4,200 that had accrued since the February 23rd meeting, and continue the per-day fine in the amount of $150 to run for a term of 35 days. If the repairs were made to the satisfaction of code enforcement by that time, which I believe is today's meeting, then the $150 per-day fine will be waived. As of today, I can confirm that the roof was in fact repaired. A new roof was, excuse me, not repaired, replaced. A new roof was replaced on the structure. Several of the windows have some sort of flashing or protective treatment around them on the second floor all the way around the building. There has been some progress. That being said, there is still exposed or untreated wood on the front of the building, primarily on the first floor windows and around the bay window on the front of the structure. There are still several wasp or bees nests and quite a wasp or bee problem towards the rear of the property as I was out there today, which are still the same nests that have been there since last summer. It's possible to see inside the structure from standing at the public area in the parking lot outside of the building through the bay window. And through that, you can see that it does not appear any repairs have been made to the interior of the structure, namely in the bedroom where the walls and ceiling had water damage. I called Mr. Emmanuel last week and asked for permission to go inside the location there to photograph for the meeting. I believe it was Thursday, and said that I needed either sometime last week or at least by today in order to gain access, whether it was meeting with him or someone else, especially so that we could be on the same page with the remaining violations as far as the untreated wood, the insect issues, as well as whatever might still be remaining on the inside of the structure. I had not heard anything since last week. About 3 minutes before the meeting began, Mr. Emmanuel sent me a text message stating, "This is to inform you that I will not be able to attend tonight's hearing due to a scheduling conflict. However, work is progressing and ongoing to correct the problems. You'll be notified when it's ready for inspection." So that's only a contact that I've had with him since the last meeting. And but again, there are still violations on the exterior of the property. However, there has been definite progress there, especially the area where the overhang there on the front of one of those windows had collapsed last, I think, October or November. That area, when they replaced the roof, was completely fixed up. And then, as I say, around most of the second-story windows, there was protective treatment placed around those. But again, there are still, even from the exterior, visible violations, and I have not had an opportunity to inspect the interior. And as of today, the case is at 203 days, I believe, 204 days.
So we had approved, I think, the last meeting, a fine of $4,200. Is that correct? So
Yes,
that's
sir.
done. I think the idea, we had talked about a $300 a day fine, and the idea was that he would get the work done. I think he guaranteed that he would have it done in 30 days by this meeting. 35 days or so. Again, I think the idea of the board is to get property within compliance, not to beat up on landowners or people who own it and rent it out. So he has made progress, so he's made some progress. The fine per day at $150 times 35 days adds up to the $5,250 referenced in one of the motions. Maybe it's appropriate to give him credit for what he's done, but to continue to put a fine on the property until he does get it done.
Well, excuse me, Jack, but Brad, you have not been inside. All you've seen is the outside.
I have not been inside this apartment in question.
Set up an appointment, he texted you, he said, I can't make this appointment.
Well, he said he couldn't make tonight's meeting. This is the first I'd heard of
Okay.
him since last week.
But he couldn't make your appointment to go inside either, is that correct?
I just said I would meet with him anytime last week or anytime this week, or anyone, a maintenance person, whoever could grant me access to the structure. I do remind the board, though, that as we had talked about when Mr. Emanuel was here last month, is that, and I don't recall who it was that asked the question, but someone had said, what is the most pressing violation or the most pressing issue at this time? And I said, stop the water leak, because that's what is really, you know, everything else is affected by that at this point. And if you repair the inside and don't fix that, we're in the same place. So it does appear that that has happened. He's replaced the roof. The contractors have put protective covering around most of those windows. Again, there is still at least one window and an area around the bay window that has nothing, which I suppose, you know, is still open to the entering the elements. But the overall idea of stopping the water leak, you know, he's done that at least. And so I don't know if, again, because he hasn't communicated with me, I don't know if he's waiting for a contractor to come inside and he's at their mercy as far as their schedule, or if he even has someone scheduled to do that work. I don't know, because he hasn't contacted me with any of that.
Seems like every person that has a violation always has, you know, makes these commitments to the board. And there's always some reason, you know, we can't get the contractor over there, we can't get the people let us in, make these promises, I'll swear I'll do this. He did that. He said, I'll swear I'll do this to make it right and correct. He didn't.
Any other discussion? You have any motions? Well, I'll take a shot at it. I'd like to make a motion to uphold a portion of the current per-day fine of $5,250 accrued since 3/22/16, me in the amount of half of that, which is $2,625, and continue the per-day fine in the amount of $150 per day to run for a term until the repairs are completed to our satisfaction.
Would you consider changing that per day fine from 150 to 300? If you would, I'll second it.
Yes, I'll consider that.
Okay.
So I'll
second
amend
that.
my motion to make it 300 per day.
But could you read that again, please?
Okay, I would like to make a motion to uphold a portion of the current per-day fine of $5,000, that's not quite per day, it's a total per-day fine of $5,250. And that has accrued since 3/22/16. Meeting, since that meeting, in the amount of half of that, which is $2,625, and to continue the per-day fine in the amount of $300 per day to run for a term until the repairs are completed to our satisfaction.
I'll second that.
Thomas, Simpson, Deere,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
Dearbone,
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes. And you will duly notify him of that, okay? Case number 4, mowing approvals. There's a list on the second page of case number for showing the properties located for mowing. We request our authorization to maintain these properties for the 2016 mowing season. According to the records, they are either abandoned or no one is maintaining the property. Do I have a motion to approve the mowing for the season?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
That's all of those listed in.
All of those listed, yes, on the
And
second page.
that was Deer and Deerbone, correct? Okay. Deer,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
Deerbone,
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes. The fourth case, or fifth case on our agenda is a repeat offender, Sean Gilbert, presented by Mr. Napper. The address is 310 Maryland Avenue. 3 structural citations issued on 11/18 of 2015, 12/1 of 2015, and 1/6 of 2016. That makes it eligible under Category B and C. Category B says issued a 3rd citation within a 12-month period, yes. Issued 2 citations within a 2-year period and fines are unpaid, yes. Would anyone like to make a motion? I understand there's no one here to represent the owner.
I'll make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that we designate this person as a repeat offender and set the future citation fine at $1,000 for a period of 18 months as dictated by the ordinance.
$1,000 per, or just flat?
Citation.
Future citations, or it would be $1,000.
For all, for future citations?
Correct.
All right.
That's both as a violation of category B and C.
Yes.
I'll second that.
Deerbone, Thomas. Deer,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
Deerbone,
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes. Okay, we go on to Exhibit A, and there's a list of several pages of complaints and fines. We can do this as a block, can we not?
Can.
Do I have a motion to accept them as presented under Exhibit A?
So moved.
Second.
Simpson, Deer,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
Deerbone,
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I would request that the Code Enforcement and Nuisance Board go into closed session to discuss pending litigation. It involves the appeal of Dr. Bunch. So I need a motion just to advise y'all what's going on.
I'll make a motion to go into executive closed session.
Second.
Thomas, Deer, Simpson,
Yes.
Deerbone,
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
And Mr. Chairman, I would tell you that there'd be
Staff
no,
allowed to.
staff's allowed to go, we would
Thank
take
you.
no action. This is in